Payment now, guys. And Senator Carrozza hopefully will show up. Okay, so right now we're just here to take up concurrences, and here's Senator Carrozza. So we will start. We have had a big bill, the EPR bill from Senator Augustine. We have a potential concurrence here, so let's start with that one. And so, April, tell us what the House did to the Augustine EPR bill.
All right. So Senate Bill 901, Environment, Packaging, and Paper Products, Producer Responsibility Plans. As a reminder, Senate Bill 901 establishes an extended producer responsibility program for packaging and paper products collectively defined as covered materials. The House amendments alter and clarify some definitions. Specifically, they add a couple of additional exemptions, or one additional exemption for packaging used for the long-term protection or storage of a product that has a lifespan of not less than 5 years as determined by the department, as well as expanding one of the exemptions for certain medical foods and supplements to include food which is formulated to be consumed or administered enterally for individuals who are unable to consume nutrition orally, so essentially food that's going through a feeding tube. Require the annual registration fee to cover, as necessary, the cost of developing and implementing program regulations. And finally, clarify that a plan's methodology for reimbursement rates for covered services for covered materials is exclusive of exempt producers. And that is it.
Okay, Senator Augustine, do you have any thoughts on the amendments?
Yeah, I do. I'm just really grateful for the partnership with the folks in the House. We worked on these together just to strengthen the bill, clarifying language, and making sure. Definitely move to concur.
Okay, we have a motion to concur from Senator Augustine. Is there a second? A second from Senator Attar. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to concur, raise your hand. All opposed? That motion carries. Devin, you've got a few things.
So one bill before we do the concurrences. This committee voted House Bill 1473, State Government Equal Access to Public Services for Individuals with Limited English Proficiency and Individuals with Disabilities. I received an amendment from the delegates very shortly after the committee went onto the floor. Apparently, the amendment that was offered was not the amendment from the delegate. It was a Saturday amendment, and the Monday amendment restores disabilities to the bill and creates a work advisory group to oversee the provision of equal access and still eliminates the piece of the education. But it puts the Department of Disabilities back in the program for equal access.
Probably procedurally, do we have to move to, we took a vote, right? So we would have to reconsider that. Yes, Vice Chair Kagan?
Before I make the motion, which I'm happy to do, it sounds like good news. Could you just clarify the amendment was a Saturday amendment for a Monday vote or something?
So there was an amendment that was offered, that was sent to the committee on Saturday.
To our committee?
To our committee on Saturday.
By the House?
By the House.
By the sponsor, by the committee?
But not by the sponsor.
Got it.
So the sponsor watched the voting session today and said that was the wrong amendment. It wasn't drafted yet. So I received the draft at 12:53 today.
And that now undoes and returns to the original posture, the way the bill came over to us.
Correct.
Except,
but it also adds an advisory group to it to make sure that when the agencies are looking at equal access, that there's somebody making sure that the agencies are looking at equal access.
So, Mr. Chair, I'd love to make a motion that
Before we do that, let's take the question from Senator Carrozza, and then we'll entertain motions.
So when we just voted on the bill, we thought that individuals with disabilities were excluded.
Correct.
And that we were doing that to lower the fiscal note.
Correct.
Okay. Now, apparently, what I've just heard, and that's why I wanted to understand the actual language, when I heard advisory committee, is that to think about bringing back the individuals with disabilities, or are they back in?
They are back in. They
Okay,
are
not,
back
and
in.
what is this advisory?
So the idea of the advisory committee is you can pass the legislation that requires the agencies to consider limited English proficiency and disabilities to make it easier for them to access services. But who's going to oversee it? And so there was an advisory group created to oversee, to make sure that the state agencies are indeed doing the provisions of the bill, making sure that they're looking at their forms, they're making sure that they are actively
I
seeking
understand.
out.
Does the advisory committee include representatives from both the Department of Education, the Department of Disabilities, the stakeholders that you would think would be on that?
It does. It's the Director of the Immigration Services, the Director of the Office of Death and Hard of Hearing, the Secretary of Disabilities or the designee, Secretary of Labor or the designee, Secretary of Human Services or the designee, Health, Information Technology, the State Superintendent of Schools, the Director, the designee of the Secretary of the Disabilities acts as the co-chairs of the group.
Okay. And when you said Director of Immigration, who,
So
who are you
It's
referring?
the Governor's Office of Immigrant Affairs.
So there's a Governor's Office of,
Immigrant Affairs.
and this is the director
And
that would
that's the
serve on
director.
this?
Correct.
And is there a chair of this advisory committee?
The chair of the advisory group would be the Director of the Office of Immigrant Affairs and the Director of Disabilities.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Okay, back to you, Vice Chair Kagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move that we reconsider the vote by which we approved the amended version of this bill.
Okay, a motion, a second, to reconsider that prior action we took on this piece of legislation. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, that motion carries. So now we have in
I'd like
front of
to-
us.
Yep. I'd like to move that we accept the amendments that the council has described that will return this bill to its original posture with the addition of a work group so that we can learn about increasing and improving access to people with disabilities and people for whom English is not their native language.
Okay, we have a motion from the Vice Chair, a second from Senator Augustine. All in favor of that motion, raise your hand. Okay. All opposed? The motion carries. Do we have to take up a separate vote on the bill as amended? The Vice Chair moves the bill as amended. Second from Senator Augustine. All in favor of the bill as amended? I don't have the number in front of me, but okay. All
House
in
Bill
favor?
1473.
1473. All opposed? We have a no vote from Senator Gallion. We make a notation of that. And the bill carries. Okay, with that, Devin, would you go back to your concurrences?
Senate Bill 116, Data Center Impact Analysis and Report. This bill requires the Department of the Environment, the Maryland Energy Administration, and the University of Maryland School of Business, in coordination with the Department of Legislative Services, to conduct an analysis of the likely environmental, energy, and economic impacts of data center development. The House amendments conform the Senate bill to the House version that passed the Senate.
Okay, so just need a motion to concur?
Yes.
Okay, motion to concur, Senator Augustine, second from Senator Gallion. All in favor of the motion to concur on Senate Bill 116? Wait, House, I'm sorry, Senate Bill?
Senate Bill.
Senate Bill
Senate Bill
116.
116.
Raise your hand. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Devin?
Senate Bill 148, State Board of Public Accountancy emeritus status. The bill authorizes the State Board of Public Accountancy to place a licensee on emeritus status if the applicant meets specified requirements. The House amendments again conform the Senate bill with the House version that this committee passed and passed the Senate. Senate Bill 148.
Senate Bill 148. Is there a motion? Motion to concur from Senator Augustine, a second from Senator Brooks. All in favor of the motion to concur, Senate Bill 148, raise your hand. All opposed, that motion carries unanimously.
Last one, Mr. Chair. Senate Bill 294, Maryland Cybersecurity Council alterations. This bill requires the governor instead of the attorney general to appoint various members of the Maryland Cybersecurity Council and invite as appropriate additional representatives from federal agencies to serve on the council. The House amendments again conform the Senate bill with the House version that this committee passed.
Okay, is there a motion? Okay, motion to concur from Senator Brooks, a second from Senator Gallion. Favor Senate Bill 290, the motion to concur on Senate Bill 294, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. Stacy, you've lion's share of concurrence. I believe you have, I'm just going to give you a heads up, 9.
9.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Then we'll be done.
Senate Bill 352, Baltimore County Republican Party Central Committee elections. If you recall, the House bill version of this sent over from the House, the Democrats noticed that their provisions were out of date and added them in the bill. These amendments by the House would just conform the two bills and make them identical.
Move to concur.
Okay, we have a motion to concur from Senator Augustine, second from Senator Brooks. Discussion. All in favor of the motion to concur on Senate Bill 352, raise your hand. All opposed? That motion carries unanimously.
Senate Bill 252, Child Care Centers Certificated Staff Ratio Requirement repeal. This departmental bill repeals a requirement that child care centers serving more than 20 children must have at least one staff member per every 20 children who is certified in basic first aid and CPR. The House amendments authorize MSDE to adopt a ratio and regulation. This committee adopted that same amendment and put it on the House, or the adopted, we voted favorable on the House bill that was in the same posture.
So let's move to concur.
Sorry.
Motion to concur,
Yes.
appropriate motion? Sure, Senator Carozza.
I know there was some back and forth on this bill. So what, my understanding, this was going to give us a little bit of leeway with the ratios.
Yes.
Okay, is that was in both bills?
Yes, it was just a matter of how to accomplish it. The Senate bill just struck the provision from the law totally. This bill strikes the actual ratio in the law and says that MSDE may do it through regulation.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions for Stacy? Okay, we're on Senate Bill 252. We had a motion to concur on the table and a second. Further discussion, all in favor of the motion to concur on Senate Bill 252, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. Stacy?
SB 262, election law, special elections. This emergency departmental bill makes changes to state law governing special elections that relate to the timing of the special election to fill a vacancy in a county councilor in the office of Chief Executive Officer, a county executive, a conflict between a county charter or other county law and the provisions of the election law article or COMAR relating to the conduct of a special election, and the administration of special elections conducted by mail. The House amendments add language prohibiting the occurrence of a special election within 120 days before or after a regularly scheduled election and allows for it to occur concurrently with a regular election.
Okay, Vice Chair Kagan, do you have any opinion on these amendments?
I was half paying attention, I'm afraid.
Okay, do you want, they're good?
It's fine. Concur.
Okay.
Move to concur.
Second.
Vice Chair Kagan moves to concur, a second from Senator Augustine. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion concur on Senate Bill 262, raise your hand. All opposed? That motion carries. Stacy?
Senate Bill 451, Adult Education, High School Diploma by Examination, Requirements and Study. If you recall, this committee voted that to take the House's language regarding allowing an individual to take all components of the high school diploma by examination in the same language from English or Spanish, and accepted the Senate's amendment to change the effective date from October to July. This would make the two bills identical.
Move to concur.
Okay. Motion to concur from Senator Augustine, a second from the Vice Chair. All in favor of motion concur on Senate Bill 451, raise your hand. All opposed? Motion carries. Stacy?
Senate Bill 601, Education Dependent Children of Service Members Advance Enrollment Procedures. This bill requires the local school systems to allow a dependent child of a service member to apply for advance enrollment in public school and specifies requirements for advance enrollment procedures. The House amendments alter provisions related to the dependent child with an IEP or 504 plan and requirements for their transition to the state, and it provides that a dependent child may stay enrolled in the school until the end of the current school year, even if they no longer meet residency requirements. If you recall, the Senate amendments talked about doing it on a case-by-case basis. I've talked with the sponsor, who, even though is not crazy about these amendments, would rather the bill make it this year, so.
Okay, I'm looking to you, Senator Brooks.
Second.
Okay, the sponsor moves to concur. Second from Senator Augustine. All in favor of the motion to concur, Senate Bill 601, raise your hand. All opposed, the motion carries. Stacy?
Senate Bill 923, Public Schools, High School Sports Officiating Services, Procurement Requirements, Officials, Payment, and Fees. So the House amendments make several changes in that they require the State Department of Education, in consultation with the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association, to develop and periodically update a list of similar high school sports that are categorized together for the purposes of equal pay for officials in procurement. Essentially, the Senate bill, as it was passed, it had definitions in it that made all these clear, but the House thought it would be better for MSDE and the Public Schools Association, or the Sports Association, to make those determinations. And they seem fairly reasonable. Senator Guile indicated she would prefer to concur.
Okay, sponsor prefers the concurrence. We've got Vice Chair Kagan moves to concur, second from Senator Augustine. Discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion concur on Senate Bill 923, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. Stacy?
Senate Bill 93, Election Law, Absentee Ballots, Notice to Request an Application. This bill requires local boards of elections to send a written notice regarding a request for state-approved absentee ballot application with a specimen ballot and any other mailing to voters or eligible voters to further awareness of the option of mail-in voting. I don't know how to describe these amendments. They are weird. So I am going to, I
Okay.
think not concur might be appropriate.
Okay, well, if council says she can hardly even understand them, explain it. Is there a motion to not concur on this one? We've got the vice chair moves not to concur, second from Senator Augustine. All in favor of the motion to not concur on Senate Bill 93, raise your hand. All opposed? That motion carries. The motion to not concur. Stacy?
Do you want a conference committee, or do you just want to ask them to recede?
What do you think, guys? Should we ask for comment or just demand they recede? What do you want to do? Huh?
Ladder. Let's play a little hardball.
Yeah, we're back to we moved to not concur, but then we have to either ask for, basically request that they appoint a conference committee, or we just tell them to back down and recede.
This is Senate Bill 93.
Senate Bill 93.
I think recede is the best option.
Okay, I would suggest we ask them to just back off, and because we don't even understand what they're even looking to do. So is there a motion to recede on the table from the vice chair? Second from Senator Gallion. Okay, all in favor of the motion directing them to recede, raise your hand. All opposed, that motion carried.
Do whatever we say anyway.
Yes, we're very powerful. Okay, Stacey?
Senate Bill 361, Election Law, Influence on a Voter's Voting Decision by Use of Fraud Prohibition. The House completely rewrote this bill, and they put in a standard that the state prosecutor has determined is unworkable. Despite her objections, they passed it anyway. So the motion would be to not concur and appoint a conference committee.
Okay, on this one, first there's a motion to not concur from the vice chair. Second from, we need a second just on the vote from Senator Augustine. Okay, first let's take a motion to not concur.
361.
Raise your hand on Senate Bill 361. All opposed? Okay, so this is another one where we ask for, maybe this one, you want to ask for a conference committee? See if we can,
Katie?
yeah? Everybody okay?
Your bill.
Okay, yeah, Katie, it's your bill. Is it asking for, the options are because we just moved to not concur, do we ask for a conference committee? Or just,
That's your
Senate Bill
election fraud bill?
361?
Election fraud.
Or do you want to just demand they recede? A conference committee might make some sense. Okay, then definitely, okay, the conference committee option completely makes sense. So everybody's good with that? Okay. What do we got? Any more?
One more.
One more.
Senate Bill 130, Education, Student Personal Electronic Device Use Policy Required. They stripped the Senate bill and put their version on. This committee stripped the House bill and put our version on, so I think conference committee is the best option.
Okay, is there a motion first? Motion not to concur from Senator Augustine, second from Vice Chair Kagan. All in favor of the motion to not concur? And then secondly, how about just an informal motion to demand, as part of that, to ask for a conference committee? Is there Senator Augustine moves the conference committee, Senator Watson, two spot there. All in favor of that part of our message back? Raise your hand. Okay, that carries.
That's it.
And we're done. Any other business before we break and you see on the floor? Okay, so see you guys on the floor at 6 o'clock.